I don't want my name out there.
I'd like the one along the ridge.
Will you go ahead and start the recording?
Okay. Or the
Did you?
country club.
All right.
You don't have your
Oh, we walked that. Diamond Sea, that was.
Bonnie, can you reach my camera?
I like
Can
that
somebody-
too, never knew it was there, but.
Me either.
It's the one above the, hospital. The very thin one.
Okay, I couldn't find that or whatever, I didn't know what we were gonna have.
Welcome. Gonna go ahead and call to order this, city council meeting, Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. If you would all, join us in a pledge of allegiance, I've asked, Brad Caton if you would lead us tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Brad. Could we get a roll call, please?
Westwood,
Here.
Conley,
Here.
Daniel. Here. Davis,
Here.
Ronnie,
Yes.
Ruth,
Yes,
Susan.
All right, I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I move to adopt the agenda as presented. I will second.
Motion from Councilmember Ronnie, second from Councilmember Daniels. I will call to attention that there is one of those funky little asterisks. This means there's something on the agenda that we did not discuss previously at the end. So, like I said, this is council's opportunity to say, no, we don't want to do that. Let's move it forward, but I think we should be good. But any discussion at the table? Hearing none, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Conley,
yeah.
Daniel. Yes. Davis.
Yes.
Ronnie,
Yes.
Ruth,
Yes.
5-0, the motion passes. Entertain a motion regarding the minutes of September 9th.
I move to approve the minutes of September 9th.
I second.
Motion from Councilmember Conley, second from Councilmember Ronning. Discussion at the table. Going once? Twice? Hearing none? Can we get a roll call, please?
Conley,
Yes.
Daniel. Yes. Davis.
Yes.
Ronnie,
Yes.
Ruth,
Yes.
All right. Mayor's comments. Friday, October 10th. Or put another way, this will be the very, very last meeting, hopefully, that anybody will ever ask, when is the Rocky Fork Inn coming down?
Oh, gosh.
In Thursday's edition of the Carbon County News, there is actually a couple of different public notices that are being run, that run for 14 days and 15 days. As all is anticipated, what will happen is we will be issuing the notice to proceed on Friday, October 10th. I anticipate that on the 13th, which is the following Monday, the remediation folks are getting in there for one day of cleanup, and Tuesday, I think there will be great rejoicing, and I anticipate probably a few extra cameras in town. So that's Tuesday, October 14th,
14th.
and there will be much rejoicing. On that note, I've also had additional follow-up conversations over the last week with the owner of the Eagle's Nest. That is still on the agenda. So it is not dead. We don't have the funding source, but we are ready and prepared and still looking forward and hoping and moving forward with that project. From a public works side, the pool is mostly shut down now. The skate park got resealed the end of last week. 16-inch bypass water project is on its way, looking to be mid-October that road will be open up again and they'll be finished with the pavement on that. And the streets project looks like it's going to be starting in the spring at this point. We don't have any exact dates on that, but it looks like that is going to be spring. We have initiated, we had some conversations about impact fees because our impact fee study had been done quite a few years ago. It turns out the size of city that we are, there's an option other than the impact fee, which is called the build-out study, which gives us a lot of the same information. And what it means is the fees that we end up charging for new services is different. It's like a hookup fee or it has some term other than an impact fee. But we've gone ahead and commissioned that, and that's going to be getting started. So we'll be having some in the future, we'll be having some of that information come to us as far as actions about how do we adjust our new construction fees. Council Member Conley, you have a look like there's a question there.
I think we call them impact fees.
Yeah, we have called them impact fees in the past. We are not required to call them impact fees. There is a secondary route that does the same stuff that's a little bit easier and it's, even if you do the impact fees, you do what's called a build-out study first. So we may find out that we don't have to do impact fees and it's wiser not to do impact fees, that we have hookup fees instead. But we will let the professionals make their recommendations and come in, and so we've started that process.
Okay. And those fees are for, water and sewer?
Correct. The sewer project is going on as well. And some of you may have heard me, just mentioning to Alistair, the new siren came in last night. So as part of the City Hall update, what we have is the historic siren that was part of the original fire department that was on three-phase power. It turned out it was the only reason there was three-phase power in this building still, and it was actually cheaper to replace it with the two-phase siren. And so we have it's in a big box, it's like 400 or 500 pounds. So sometime in the next few weeks, we'll be swapping out the siren and you'll hear that. This one is omnidirectional, so it'll go out everywhere. So if you couldn't used to hear it down by the creek, you'll be able to hear it now.
So it's gonna be louder.
Maybe.
Is this gonna duplicate or?
It's gonna be our new siren and
Yeah, it
also,
was from the thirties and the forties and the fifties, it's gonna sound like that bell sound.
I'm hoping so. That was the objective. We're trying to make it, we're trying to keep that same historic feel to what has been there.
So they can hear it in Bear
I
Creek.
hope we can hear it, hope we can hear each other, but no, I'm
Yeah.
kidding. I'm all for
Yeah.
history.
Can you really?
So, yeah, the old one, they're actually reaching out to both to the fire department and the museum to see if it has a place down there, or, it'll go someplace there, so. All right, I think that's all I have for mayor's updates, comments. Questions, anything I missed or didn't include in that?
Can you tell me, the streets project, what's on deck for that for spring again?
So the streets, this is the EDA street grants project we have, so it's mostly the stuff that was phase one of the stormwater.
Okay.
It does include paving up Second to the high school,
Oh,
and then there are several roads down there, so there's some over on Villard, depending on who you talk to, on that corner, but it's mostly on the north end of town. So the people that were impacted by, who had digging up during phase one of the stormwater, the purpose of that project is always, the stormwater is the storm system, pavement, curb to curb, gutters. It does not include sidewalks as part of that system. Having said that, the city is investing in some sidewalks, most notably, the corner infrastructure part that is our responsibility, and the section going up Second, so that there's a sidewalk off-road going up to the high school for kids to use. So it's kind of part of that Safe Routes to School initiative. The city is also working on, the Public Works Committee is working on a plan that'll go into effect for next year, where we have allocated some money for a 50-50 sidewalk project. What I anticipate that's going to look like is somebody comes in and says, I would like to replace the sidewalk in front of my place, or add one because there hasn't one been there. I'm making up numbers, but it's gonna cost me $5,000, and the city will say, great, we haven't run out of money yet. Here's $2,500, we'll pay that half to kind of encourage the sidewalk build out. And it'll become on a first come, first served basis. So when the money is gone and we allocated $50,000 out of resort tax, right, that's what we ended up with, for resort tax on that. So what that means is $100,000 worth of new sidewalks in town, hopefully, for the people who come take advantage of that. They're also looking at some additional options that if there's some demolition that needs to be done to get the old sidewalks out, assuming that there's not, concerns with those things that would be problematic, Public Works may come in and do the demolition and get the old out as well, so that would be an additional cost savings to the folks doing that. But that would be at Public Works discretion, so it would depend on workload. And then also, they don't want to get close to something that's, if it's too precise or, you know, next to a historic building, they may say, we don't want to do that, you need to hire that out separately from the city. But if it's just a general sidewalk alongside of the roads and we have the manpower to do it, we'll do that as a way to help bring the cost down as well.
And I'd like to, point out that Mike Maples did this in Shoto, so he knows how to do it, he's very familiar with it, it should be smooth sailing, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah.
A lot of.
It's like I said, so when you look at roads, gutter, curbs, and we throw sidewalks in, we'll have sections of town that start to look like a town, which is a really difficult thing to do in Montana, particularly small town Montana. Any other questions at the table?
Does that include the sidewalk in front of the old Roosevelt?
It doesn't, so if they wanted to come in and do that, they could apply for that. Now, having said that, and again, council is still working on that, so right now it's still in the standing committee. It'll come to full council before we implement it. I anticipate there will probably be some caps in there so that like one person doesn't come in and spend all of the money. But the
They could apply
city is not doing sidewalks in front of the Roosevelt, but it would be eligible for that 50-50 program, I believe. Now, I say I believe because council still hasn't written up the rule book yet.
It could be business and residential.
Yeah, I think that's the plan is.
Wasn't sure about that, but I'm not, but like you say, we're still thinking
If
over.
you guys are gonna come up with that and go with that, so.
Okay.
All right. All right, any other questions on Mayor's comment? All right, hearing none, what we'll do is this will take us to our first section on the agenda for public comment. And I say first section because this is the opportunity for the public, either in chambers or online, to address the council and be heard for 3 minutes. If you'd start by stating your name for the record and then direct your comments to the chair, you'll have 3 minutes to speak your mind. And then just as a reminder, there will also be a public comment period at the end of the meeting as well. And then for each of the items in the action menu, there will be public comment on everything, on each action item individually before we take action. And with that, I'll go ahead and open up public comment. I always look to the room first to see if there's any public comment from the room. I'm not seeing anybody advance to the podium, so we'll go to online. If you're online and like to speak, if you could either turn on your camera or unmute your mic or raise a hand, that'll be an indication you'd like to address the council. This is me stalling to give people an opportunity to do that. Nobody is doing it yet, so we'll call that going once, twice, 3 times. We'll go ahead and close that first opportunity for public comment with a reminder that there will be an opportunity at the end of the meeting and with each action item. With that, I will entertain a motion for ordinance number 973.
I move to approve ordinance number 973, an ordinance of the city of Red Lodge, Montana, to update section 4.1.16 solid waste of the Public Health and Safety Red Lodge City Municipal Code.
Anything you'd like to add to that?
Second reading,
All right, thank
and
you.
you can hear it too.
I'll second that.
Have a motion from Councilmember Conley, a second from Councilmember Rude. Any discussion at the table before we open this for public comment? Hearing none, we will do, this is a public hearing. This is an ordinance. This is specifically addressing, looking for my copy here, I apologize. This is addressing some cleanup in the trash ordinance, targeted specifically at addressing human-bear conflicts in town, and then also blowing trash in town. So basically, it says that construction dumpsters need to be covered, and if they are not bear resistant, then there needs to be a separate bear resistant container for that attractant waste. There's a couple of little other things in there. The stuff online, all of the stuff that's underlined is basically the stuff that is new, just following the state standard of how they articulate those. And with no discussion at the table, we'll go ahead and open up for public comment on ordinance 973. Looking to the room? Going to online? Going once? Twice? 3 times? And we'll go ahead and close that public comment. And like I said, I like to think that that means that the public comment periods we've had up to this point have all been beneficial and the public has had an opportunity to voice their opinions. And we even started this process over once because of a tweak that was there. Last chance for discussion at the table? Hearing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Conley?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
5-0, the motion passes. I will entertain a motion for ordinance 952.
I move to approve ordinance number 952, second amended, second reading, an ordinance replacing chapter 4 of title 2 of the Red Lodge Municipal Code Administrative Ordinances governing the collection and reporting of resort tax revenue.
We do a second reading on the end, even though you did it up front.
Second reading.
I'll second the second reading.
Okay,
of the second
motion,
amendment.
motion from Councilmember Ronning, second from Councilmember Conley. Discussion at the table before we go to public comment.
Not really, no. Unless anybody has any questions or anything, we haven't changed anything since last time, and it's our second reading. A lot of work went into this by both the Resort Tax Committee, city staff, and the Admin and Finance Committee. So it's basically just cleaning up some things in it.
Mostly just
Clarifying things.
Yeah, clarifying things that had come up previously.
Yeah.
Anything that was some confusions and ambiguity. They did add educational materials as exempt from tax, as an example. Just looking for some of the things. Again, this is something we've had multiple conversation on and has been discussed publicly. We've reviewed it all. There are some things about saying that when new businesses are starting up, it's either cash payment or a bond. It's not, they can't just put in a check and then that's returned. So just some cleanup of that. We revisit every 5 years.
That's
And,
only on short-term vendors.
pardon?
That's only on short-term vendors.
Which part,
The new business
Review.
starting up. A new business starting up that is a full-time business in Red Lodge can write a check for the resort tax bond.
oh,
It's only for
short-term vendors cannot do a check?
Like, if you come in for the weekend for a vendor, as a vendor, and you're only gonna be here for the weekend.
So a new
Right,
but a new
cash.
business, we do take a check?
Yes, we do.
All right, thank you. But we cash it and hold it, right?
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
All
And you
right.
get it back in a year if you pay your resort tax.
Any other discussion at the table before we go to public comment? And again, because this is an ordinance, it has 2 public hearings and 2 readings. And this is the second reading. So we'll go ahead and open that for public comment regarding ordinance 952, resort tax. Nothing in the room. Let me go to online. Seeing no mics, no videos, no raised hands, going once, twice, 3 times. We'll go ahead and close that and make that official. Bring it back to the table. Any last discussion before we have a vote?
No, but thank you, everyone who worked so hard on it. It's just an impressive document.
Now everybody wants to go home and read it, so thanks for that.
They should.
All right.
It's been a document that's been 25 years in the making, so it's been tweaked every 5 years, so to make it, so, where it is.
But this time we got it perfect
Maybe, yeah.
for 5 more years. All right. Hearing no further discussion at the table, can I get a vote, please?
Conley?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Ronnie? Yes. Bruce?
Yes.
5-0, the motion passes. I will entertain a motion for resolution 3717.
I move to approve resolution number 3717, a resolution canceling the 2025 general election for the city of Red Lodge to fill the mayor and 4 council positions.
I will second that.
Have a motion from Councilmember Ronning and a second from Councilmember Daniels I will give just a moment to interview what's happening here, and I will look to our media to do a good job of summarizing, because I think this is one of those things that if there's a title only and not a backstory, it will, generate some interesting chatter.
Canceling the election.
So the short version is they put out a calendar every year about when to sign up to run for office and when to drop out and when you can sign up as a running candidate after that. And all the deadlines have come and gone, and we have exactly one candidate running for each open position. And just to clarify, that was mayor, a 2-year term, Dave Westwood, that's me. We had a council person in Ward 1 for a 2-year term, which was Chelsea Tupin. We had an unexpired term for council person in Ward 1, which was Patty Davis. She was appointed by council to fill a vacancy when we lost one of our council members due to family matters. But that only gets her through till the next election, and then we have to run and have another election. And then council ward person 2-year term for Ward 2, which is Jeremy Battles, and a council person Ward 3 2-year term, which is Jody Ronning. And so there was one and only one in all of those positions. And so what happens in that situation, the election administrator reached out to the city and said, would you like to spend $4,000 to send everyone in the city a page in their ballot election that says, here, pick the only name, pick one of one, or would you like to save that $4,000? You are not required to do an election from that. And so we brought that to council and discussed it, and council said, yes, let's use that $4,000 someplace else. So that is what is behind that. Is there any other discussion at the table you want to add before I open that up for public comment?
The only thing I noticed on here is that normally, when it says passed and approved by, you would see City of Red Lodge. And then underneath it would be Dave Westwood Mayor, and then a test, Lonnie Hanson, City Clerk. And this one doesn't have that. Is that because the election board gave it to us?
Yeah.
They did, and it does say it's passed and approved by the City of Red Lodge Council, so I will only sign it once you guys do that. Am I understanding the question properly?
Well, normally the sign-off would be different.
Oh, yeah, so this is what the election administrator gave us.
But if there
And
has,
it's been through our legal as well,
so no big deal.
okay? With that, I'm gonna go ahead and open up for public comment. Looking to the room, would you hand this hard copy around to the press, if you would, please? Looking online for comment? Going once, twice, 3 times, we'll bring it back to the table for final comment before taking a vote.
And I don't know if I heard you correctly or not. Did you say that the deadline is passed for people to sign up
Yes.
as a write-in candidate?
It is, so it is
I
not
just
possible.
really want to emphasize that.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
there's
it is
no-
not possible for
Okay.
anyone to get in
Okay.
at this point. That was why it was not done earlier, because it was still a possibility that people could sign up for
Write-in.
write-ins.
Mhm.
Good questioning, yes, we asked that.
Okay.
And that deadline was just,
September
the
1st, I
write-in
think.
must be filed
Yeah.
by 5 on the 90th day.
On
September 1st.
September 1st. And so when they reached out to us, we still had, we ran this through 2 cycles of council before we got to that point. But they said this was okay. I think we actually have to turn this in before the end of this month, or they run it and send us the bill. So yeah, we're good on our dates. We confirmed that we didn't need to put a funny asterisk and do that last time. So, all right. Hearing no further discussion at the table, could I get a vote, please?
Conley?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Ronning?
Yes.
Ruth?
Yes.
5-0, the motion passes. And again, thanks to the press preemptively for helping make sure that that message gets accurately relayed on to the public, not that we have outlawed, we've eliminated elections in Red Lodge. All right, I will entertain a motion for resolution 3718.
I move to approve resolution number 3718, a resolution of the City Council of Red Lodge, Montana to declare certain municipal property as surplus property.
I second.
Motion from Councilmember Ronning, second from Councilmember Conley. And again, just a little call out that this does have the little star that this is, the first meeting we've seen and had this here, but we will allow public discussion before we go as well. Council President Ronning, do you mind taking just a moment and introducing that?
Sure. These are two pieces of, one's a piece of equipment and one is the vac truck, the international vac truck that we now have a new vac truck. So it's basically surplus equipment or vehicles, that the city owns that we no longer need. So we are trying to get some of the value out of these. According to, the Public Works Director today, Mr. Maples, he did say that, these will most likely be put on a surplus auction, website auction. It is open to the public, but if he could sell them to another municipality, he would do so as well, and he's been in talks with other, cities and towns to, offer these up to them. Unfortunately, like the vac truck is a pretty unique piece of equipment, and, he had someone on the line to buy it, but they did not have a place to park it inside. And because it's a vac truck, you have to park it inside in the wintertime. So, and then the skip drag loader, is just a really unique piece of equipment. So they will most likely probably go on to, one of the surplus websites for sale. And like I say, they are open to the public at that time if anyone would like to bid on these pieces of equipment.
If they know what those are.
They can, well, yeah, so.
And there's actually 2 or 3 different municipal websites that we use. And it wasn't known for sure what was gonna go on. They were kind of looking at a couple of the different sites for terms. But anybody who may be interested in bidding on either one of those pieces of equipment, you're welcome to reach out to the Public Works Director, and he can let you know which one we posted those on. The public will have to go, it does have to go to the website for public to do it. To bypass that, the only thing we can do is sell to municipalities within Montana. And then there's an alternate channel on how to dispose of equipment there. But like to sell to an individual, it will go through one of those government surplus websites. And that's just us doing our job to protect the taxpayers and their money and making sure we're getting the most out of those used assets.
And they will each have a reserve on it as well. So it's, in case
They won't be given away.
They won't be given away, yes.
Yeah.
So they will have a reserve.
There was a concern specifically on that back truck. It was mentioned that it's Montana and it's a really good idea to park those inside. And so the goal is to hopefully get that sold sooner rather than later so that we're not scrambling to find a place to store it. Because we want to protect that investment as long as it is still a city investment and a city asset.
The income, it just goes back to Public Works.
Yep.
Yeah, wherever the funds were purchased from,
Yeah,
to buy that equipment, it goes back into that fund.
that's nice.
Okay. Any other discussion at the table? All right, we'll go ahead and open this up to public comment, specifically having to do with Resolution 3718 on this declaring surplus property for resale. Looking to the room? Seeing nothing in the room, looking online? Cameras, mics, hands, going once, twice, 3 times. We'll go ahead and close the public comment on Resolution 3718 and bring it back to the table. Any discussion before we do a vote? All right, could I get a vote, please?
Conley?
Yes.
Danielle?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes,
All right, 5-0, the motion passes. Half past the hour. Clearly, it's Chelsea's that's causing us to run long.
Clearly.
So-
Chatty Chelsea.
Chelsea's not here, we have a quick meeting. All right, for the general public, that's the action part of our meeting. The next part of our agenda, what we're gonna do is the opportunity for the council standing committees to share with the other standing committees what they are working on, and then sometimes, get some feedback, and also we're discussing the stuff that will be coming up in, future meetings. And like I said, the reason that first part of that meeting went so boringly quick, which is delightful, is because we've taken the time and opportunity to vet those things out before we get there. So as we do that, what I'd like to do is let's start with, public health and safety. And for that, I will look to Committee Chair, Conley to give us an update of that meeting and let council know what we need to know from there.
Okay, we talked to the police chief today about the drawing that was released, that they're trying to find this gentleman, and they've gotten quite a few tips. I was impressed that, Jeff Purvis started the drawing himself and then forwarded it to somebody he knew in a Texas police department, and it got it better, because it was an excellent drawing. So, anyway, they are working on that. They're hoping to get some feedback on our grant request for an SRO by the end of the month, but those things take forever. We did, of course, look at the solid waste ordinance 973 again, but there were no changes. And then we had some discussion on airport safety. We had some good people at the meeting, including the fire chief and one member of the airport board. So we got some interesting information, and we'll be getting into that at a later meeting. That was it.
All right, any questions from the table for, public health and safety? All right, hearing none, admin and finance, and for that, I will look to council, or committee chair Ronnie.
Okay, so first, I guess I would just like to, address, what we have on the agenda here tonight, the resolution for, fiscal year 24-25, the budget amendments. That's up for discussion tonight. So, Lonnie, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So, so there's 4 items on here. Every year, budget-wise, there could be funds that are in the hole, and it's just number-wise. It's not cash or anything like that, but number-wise, on paper, they could be in the negative. So this just cleans those up because we can't have anything negative in our budget. So, the auditors.
I guess I have a question. What is number-wise as opposed to money?
So, budget, so like paper-wise, I mean, when you're looking at, you know, 'cause budget-wise, those are the numbers we use. But adjustments, things that are like, so I'll kind of explain on that one. So like on CDBG fund, so we had pass-through payments that went to the community foundation. So we didn't account for those when we did our budget, but it was money that came in and then went right back out, but we didn't account for it when we created the budget, so it puts that budget in the hole, so we just have to correct that. Same with the disaster fund, we received the money for the Rocky Fork Inn. We didn't account for it on the budget side of it, on the expenditure side. These are all expenditures.
And sometimes it's because it's not known yet.
Yeah.
So,
In flux or something.
we do our budgets to the very best of our ability, and we really try to articulate exactly what's there. But if something comes in that's different, and we talk about council and say, we're gonna do this instead of that, we still have to make all the columns match.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so, like I said, with the disaster fund, that big amount was the Rocky Fork Inn, and we just didn't account for $2 million coming in and then going back out. The special restricted law enforcement fund, that amount was money that was spent for the canine. But Greg got money to, that amount, we got
Reimbursed, yeah.
Thank you, for that through the funds they have
From
at
their
the community foundation. Yep.
Okay.
Solid waste fund. This one was a auditor adjustment that they did at the year end when they came in and did all of our closeout for the year. And it's called GASB 74, I forgot, but it has to do with a pension thing, but it's a state audit requirement. So when they make that adjustment, it then in turn, we don't account for those in the funds. Usually, we have enough budgets left over but this one was a little bit more.
Okay.
So, that's all those are.
Thank you.
Okay. And again, that's not up for action tonight.
Clear
This will be
as-
there, and again, I would encourage the press, if you have any questions, or if you want to ask, just reach out to the office, and we'll do our best to help. This is just standard stuff we do every year, and it's kind of at the end of the year, when you know what some of those are, you go through and make the budgeting adjustments. And again, it's basically to keep everything up front and available for the public as it's there.
Balance your 24-25 budget.
It's cleanup.
Any questions from the table, or are we good moving that forward next week for action?
I'm good.
It's a resolution, so we can't do it tonight?
No, it
Nope,
doesn't have a
it-
number.
We didn't put it up for action, this is part of our run everything through 2 council meetings, we don't rush things through here. Where lots of things fast is not one of them.
Okay, I know, for sure. All right. So, other than that, we did, a lot of it we already did tonight. The last thing that we talked about that we haven't already covered was, Tom Coons Fire Chief was at our meeting, and so was our City Attorney Dennison Butler. And we basically talked about, different ways, to annex in the city of Red Lodge into Red Lodge Rural Fire Department, what that would look like, what steps we would have to do to decide if we want to do that or not. Basically, it comes down to the city council would pass a resolution saying that, yes, we would be open to annexing our city into Red Lodge Rural Fire Department. And then what that would entail would be a petition would need to be signed by 40% of the property owners in town that equal 40% or more of the taxable value of, for property taxes. And then after that, if that were to pass, then the county commissioners must hold a public hearing and approve that annexation. So you may be asking, why are we talking about this? Well, the reason why is that our public safety, between our police department and our fire department, is what we pay out is higher than what we take in for our, property taxes. And it is, we haven't raised property taxes ever, and a lot of that is thanks to our resort tax. You know, that we're still able to function as a city. We collect almost, $1.9 million in resort tax every year right now. And we are collecting, how much do we collect in, property taxes this year? 700?
And that's not all of our general fund, but
No.
but that's just the stuff that comes in directly from
Right.
property tax.
And a lot of our other general fund outlays are being paid by other things, like our business registration is paying for our city staff to manage our businesses and to manage the resort tax. You know, so, and then we also have building, well, let's see, we don't have a city planner right now, but
We do.
we do, but I'm just saying we don't have,
We write checks to them
I
every
know.
month, I sure hope we do.
Let me rephrase that. You know, there's other things, I guess, that come, you know, we don't have an in-house city planner. So, you know, that, has, you know, I guess that's a different conversation to have down the road. But we also have our judge, and we have our city attorney, we have our outlay for the city planning, you know.
Building department.
The building department is paid for by building permits.
So
Yeah.
if I may,
I'm trying
so,
to think of other things that we pay out of general fund that,
so I hate to break this surprise to everybody, but there's a little thing called inflation that we all deal with. For a lot of the city budget expenses, we have the ability to address that and handle that. So water, trash, sewer, we have those when we go up by the consumer pricing index,
right.
and we do that. Because of the formula that's in place on, well, let me back up.
I
Some of
know,
our
you got it.
services don't have that option. The stuff that is just paid for out of our general fund, public safety being the significant lion's share of that, which is police and fire combined, we don't have that option. And over the last 20 years since the state legislature put into place how much taxes the city gets going on a year, we've actually lost 23.5%. I've got it, we'll put together a presentation as we do this. We've lost 23+% of that purchasing power. And so how do we do that? So, a lot of, and there's different ways to address that. The real root problem is we have public safety services that we provide that have not had any adjustment to the monies that are available. In fairness, there's multiple options that are available. We could just we could put to the voters a general tax increase, which we're like one of the last municipalities that has not done that. It could be specifically a public health and safety meal increase. We have the option of using resort tax to do some of that. The option that we're pursuing first is for the city to annex into the fire district, as opposed to right now, we just outsource to them to meet our city obligation. We are required as a municipality under state law to provide police protection and to provide fire protection. Now, they don't tell us what that involves, if it's Barney Fife and one bullet and a bucket of water, but we have to provide that. There are several benefits we do get as a city because we have a good police department and a good fire department. One of the ways that's manifest to residents is we have really good insurance rates compared to a lot of other communities. So it's kind of like, well, do we pay for insurance, or do we give it to the fire department, or do we give it to the insurance companies? But to an extent, we're going to be paying that money out anyway. The reason that I like this idea of annexing into the fire district, and just what that would look like so that people are aware, is rather than the city paying directly to the fire department, which is currently 28 mills, which is one of the problems we have with our current system, they would tax the residents directly for that, and we would have that 28 mills within the city to help ease the balance and take care of the fire side or the police side and those other services that Council President Ronning mentioned. The reason that I like that approach is because that gets the city out of being the middleman between residents and the fire district. So if the fire district they say we need to buy a new truck, or we want to raise that we want to go to the voters and get an extra mill, it's that fire department, that fire district having that conversation with the voters, as opposed to the city. Right now, we're stuck as the middleman. The fire department just says, we need more money. We can't provide that service for X anymore. We need Y, and we have no means to discuss because we aren't really a part of the conversation. We're almost transferring the money from the voters to that, but then what do we cut to make that work? And so I like it because, and the second thing is, right now, the city residents on a per resident basis, we're paying more per resident for that fire protection than others in the district are. And annexing into the district equalizes that across the district. Councilmember Cog.
You said that the city was required to provide fire.
We are.
We are.
So if you annexed in, then,
Unless you are part of a fire district.
there's the
Yeah,
unless.
the comma, unless you are part of a fire district, yeah.
Okay.
So the state
Because we're
code,
still providing it.
yeah.
Just-
Well, we're not, the
It's
residents
there.
are.
And there's a similar thing for police, unless we have, contracted with an outside, which is generally the county. And there's a lot of smaller towns than
That
us
do that.
that are not resort towns that do that, and they
Yeah.
contract it to the county. So, yeah, we're required to provide it unless it's covered through another mechanism.
Okay.
So that's a couple of the reasons, and then I also think it's a really good mechanism to get this conversation started at the greater community level, to just kind of talk about what are we gonna do to address these emergency services needs. Now, and I specifically called out fire and police. The city is not required to provide ambulance service. So that's why there's an ambulance district that we are a part of. And they kind of operate for efficiencies of scale. They operate together. There's a lot of things that would be cleaner. And when I was on council, this conversation first came up. At that point, I don't know that the fire department had a particular preference as to whether we went with the annexation approach or not. One of the things that I didn't like about the conversation at that point is it was presented as the city's not raising your taxes. I want to be honest with folks. This is an action that the city is taking or looking at pursuing that will cause taxes to go up. Like I said, alternatively, we can go raise the taxes to the city, but I kind of like having funds specifically targeted for purpose X and purpose Y. And so, like I said, if we were to put a mill in front of the voters directly, I would rather do a public health and safety mill than just a general mill, because it kind of directs those funds.
And I will say that part of doing this is that we are gonna have to have a very good presentation on how we're going to utilize those extra funds.
Sure.
You know, it's not just so we have a slush fund with the city. I mean, they're desperately needed to run the city and to continue the services that people have become accustomed to.
Well, it's gonna be another citywide campaign, and those are very long and difficult. I'm intrigued, but of course, I have tons of questions, so.
And one of the things we have to be very aware of is that this impacts a lot of those frontline workers that we're doing so much effort to, you know, if something goes onto a property tax and they're renting that property out, it's gonna be there. We've got people that are on fixed incomes. It's gonna be there. So like I said, this is gonna be a conversation that is gonna take at least 6 months and may take the next 2.5 years. But one of my goals when I came in is that we're setting the city up for success in the future. And part of that public policy is to make sure that services are being paid for by the folks that are utilizing it, and we're not kicking the can down the road. And so as hard of a conversation as it is, we're gonna start having that. And so what I'm looking to have is within the next 1 or 2 meetings, we'll have that resolution below the fold. Councilmember?
Is there another town, city in the state that has done something similar that I can read about?
Bear Creek did.
Who did?
Bear Creek.
Bear Creek actually annexed into this, but the ordinance that we're using was actually created to allow Bear Creek to get into that.
Because there's no way a town the size of Bear Creek could afford to pay for their fire department or fire services
Or
or at all.
One of the interesting things as you're doing your comparisons, to the best that we've been able to determine by research, we are the only resort tax entity in Montana that is not using that for fire protection currently. Now, the voters
You
did,
mean, not using that model?
no, what I'm saying is, none of our resort tax goes to the fire department, and of all the resort tax entities in Montana, we're the only one with zero money going to fire department from resort tax. And there are some that's 100% of what it goes to is their fire.
Right, and the interesting thing today when Chief Kuntz was there is he's for annexation. It isn't us against the fire department. He actually thinks that this is a good way to go. So he was for that, which we hadn't heard this before.
Well, yeah, he has been to our admin and finance meetings. It's probably the 5th or 6th time talking about this, and he was the one that brought it to us as, like 4 years ago, because he helped write the legislation in the state so that Bear Creek could be annexed into Red Lodge Rural Fire Department.
And when I asked how much tax would be raised, he said it's similar to the EMS. So if you look on your bill for EMS, that's about the amount that
Your taxes would
that
go
your
up.
taxes would go up. He also mentioned that our taxes are supposed to go down 16% in 2026.
Well, no, so this year, property taxes for primary home residences went down.
As
And
of
for businesses,
2026,
for businesses, they go up.
yeah, for 2026, not 2025. So we haven't seen those bills yet.
Can you recap the options again, the 3 options?
So there's there's actually 4 options that we've identified so far.
Okay.
The first one is annexing into the fire district. The net impact of that would be that whatever people are paying for the ambulance district right now, they would see an additional charge and about that same proximity on their property taxes, specifically for fire district.
Okay.
The side effect from that is that gets the city out of that discussion, and it's the conversation between the taxpayers and the rural fire district.
And this year would free up about $283,000.
Yeah, so that would mean that our general budget had $283,000 that we were no longer giving to fire because it was being raised separately.
Okay.
The second option, in my mind, and so I'll throw this as my prioritization, is that as we go, and we've looked at this the last year or two, we use some of our resort tax to address that fire budget.
Okay.
And in fairness, the primary portion of that is capital. So we have a primarily volunteer fire department, but they still have $1 million engines, or however much those are costing now. I may be understating that, but I know they're at least $1 million for the engines. And so that's where the primary sources of their money go. Now, the flip side of that is that means if we're spending those dollars on resort tax to buy new fire engines, that means we're not so aggressive on our parks and other things that we use resort tax for.
Come out.
So some things under resort
Water,
tax for are
sewer.
not open for discussion, they're already obligated. Water, sewer, a swimming pool that we're paying for out of resort tax. So those things that we look for resort tax, each of those dollars only gets to be spent once. So if we are spending it for fire, it's no longer available. We have to make those adjustments as we allocate those going forward into the next year's budget.
Okay.
There's also a secondary portion of that the fire department is coming to us and saying, what we're paying for the service is not enough, in that the cost of providing the service is going up. How do we adjust for that? So again, that kind of gets addressed if we go to the fire district, that conversation goes. So that would be option number 2 for me.
Okay.
Option number 3 is we go to the voters. So 8 months from now, if we haven't done option number 1, we go to the voters and say, we'd like to put on the ballot, there's a public health and safety mill specifically for public health and safety. So it's for police, fire, that's what it's used for. And it's basically increased taxes, but here's the why. The fourth option is just a general, we just need more money to run the city. Here's where we are compared to everybody else. The only city that I'm aware of that has lower property taxes, if you look at mills and property taxes, than Red Lodge, is West Yellowstone. And they use 100% of their resort tax budget goes into their general fund, so they can use it however they see fit. And they also have they have a higher resort tax budget than we do. So that's the only town in Montana that I'm aware of that has lower property taxes than we do.
I think they collect like $10 million a year.
No, well, Big Sky is the one
Oh,
that's
Big
really,
Sky.
Big Sky is
Okay.
the one that's
Okay.
really big.
Was like,
And,
it was,
Camilla,
And-
sounds about right.
Or in,
We should be so lucky.
West Yellowstone collects a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah,
too.
and resort tax.
have me
That- yeah, so there's a lot of those that have the resort tax and goes there. Now, going back to the resort tax conversation, I will tell you that there is, on that resort tax committee, there's a lot of, when we talk about going to that and saying we're gonna use resort tax money to do that, there are folks within this community, and certainly within the resort tax committee, representing those folks that have what I call the cake versus the frosting conversation. They say resort tax should not be used to provide those services that you have to provide. That the resort tax is the frosting on Red Lodge. We shouldn't be using it for the cake. We should be going to the voters and saying, we need to raise taxes to pay for the cake. We have great frosting, but you take care of the cake first. And like I said, this is a conversation that needs to happen on a community-wide scale.
and that's gonna happen through admin and finance for this?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
and like I said, I'd like to get that resolution, which basically just says we are pursuing a public hearing and a resolution to start trying to get those signatures to annex in the fire district. I'd like to see that within the next month. So within the next couple of meetings. And again, we'll have it below the fold, and then we'll have it after the fold. But the goal is, that'll give us 6 to 8 months to see if we can do that before we have to figure out if we're putting something on the ballot that says we're raising taxes. And like I said, to me, this is the approach that gets that conversation out into the public, and we can start having a conversation about it. And we're gonna tell everybody it was Patty's idea. No. All right, any other questions at the table on that? And I'll not go to public comment because we're not taking action here, although anybody who'd like to is welcome to say something during the public comment period. And when we do, get a resolution there and have it, then we'll of course have public comment there. But anybody in the public who's interested in reaching out, please reach out.
We
We'll do
also
our best
meet,
to answer.
Tuesday mornings at 9:15 a.m. and all are welcome to attend those, so.
And I would offer that for those who are interested, those standing committee meetings, do go up online, recorded as well. And, that 9:15 meeting this morning, I thought was very interesting. So, although we tried to recap it here.
I know, alone,
I have nothing else for that. I think we covered it.
All right, thank you. So land use and planning, and for that I will look to substitute, since, I think that was, Councilmember Daniels that directed that today?
Yesterday? Yes,
Yesterday,
Yeah, right,
yeah, because that group meets on Monday night at 4:30.
correct. Yes, it was actually a pretty quick meeting. We,
Again, no Chelsea.
again, no chatty Chelsea, no chatty Chelsea to do it. We kind of went over the Brewery Hill Trail Grant. Mayor reminded us that we did not receive the MDOT funding, but we're hoping to proceed in stages, starting, at the top portion and working our way down as, budget allows. We talked about our process for designating / changing the use of city-owned land. We had heard back from our Parks Board, and they have also been working on this. So we're trying to take 2 documents with pretty much our own flow charts and making it one cohesive, piece to work with. So far, it looks like we're all kind of on the same page. We just need to get together and put everything together in one. Other than that, that was it. It was pretty short, quick. Anything, Patty, you want to add?
No, thank you.
Any questions for land use and planning from the table?
Was there any discussion on use of city-owned land, or?
Not so much the use currently. I mean, yes, there was discussion on things that are like on the docket, so to speak, but we're still trying to formulate how the process will work for like applications and what goes into it.
And you're gonna make sure that there's some sort of zoning oversight as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
We covered, yes, like I said, the Parks Board did a great job with bullet pointing things, and then our note that we've been working in a Google Doc has been 12 pages long, just making sure that everything is included. And like I said, we just need to get with Parks and try to streamline that a little bit more.
I have a question, because I picked up this, wings and things, land use reservation.
Wings and things, wings and wheels? I like wings and things.
Someone else is hungry.
So this is different, what y'all are working on is different than use of city-owned land permit? Is that something different than this I picked up?
Yes.
Okay, what is?
We already did that one.
That one's,
And what's
so-
this next one gonna be?
I believe those are more events.
These are events?
Yes.
Okay.
The new process is use of city-owned land, like changing a use of a park or adding a new one. So the tennis courts up by, or the concrete pad in Lions Park for ice.
Okay.
Or the observatory. So it's like, how do we make sure that when we take city-owned land and allocate it for purpose X, Y, or Z, we're giving fair public input into that process. And going for the highest and best use of those city-owned land.
In a consistent manner, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what prompted this? I'm curious.
The observatory.
Observatory was part of it. Lions Park is a very significant part of that. When you're talking about, here's a grass field and you want to tear it up and
Gotcha.
put a concrete pad in it.
Okay.
Because it's a permanent use.
Tennis courts,
Coal
slash,
miners.
disc golf, slash green space, slash,
Okay.
so it's a reoccurring theme. Let's fix this for future generations.
Okay,
That's
all right,
a little more consistent.
all right. Thank you very much.
All right.
When does it come to council? When doesn't
Yeah.
it?
And any other questions for land use and planning?
Well, just, being a part of the conversation when people have received grants for funds and being a participant in the city for the use of those funds, you know, because they earn the funds or whatever, or receive the, grants for it, but it directly involves the city too, so just being a part of those conversations, and making sure we're communicating
Yeah, everything's
with
transparent.
all
We're seeing-
interested parties.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And by the way, this dates back to the soccer field going in at Coal Miners Park too. It's like, okay, but let's do things consistently.
Sure.
All right, Public Works, and for that, we will look to Committee Chair Ronning.
Well, most of it, as usual, you were able to cover in our mayor's comments tonight, because a lot of what he always talks about is, Public Works, his, Mr. Maples' update. And so that's great, because,
Those
really
three you
nice.
can speak about.
I know, I'm
Okay.
getting there, getting there.
He's helping.
He is helping. So, we did, talk about the 50/50 sidewalk program. Mike, brought us sample programs from Shoto and Lewistown. We're going to read through those, probably do a combination of both of those. You know, however that may look moving forward, you know, do we put, a dollar limitation on it? Do we do a linear you know, how many feet you're doing? Do we, want to focus on business? Do you want to focus on residential, or is it open to everyone? You know, all of those will be things we'll be addressing in that program, you know, and what the city's involvement will be in that, if they're able to help with the, you know, demolition and hauling off the old sidewalk, things like that, so.
Will that include, the safe routes to school as maybe a priority, or?
I think it's, the way these have worked in the past, it's first come, first served, period. But that doesn't necessarily, mean that, I mean, it's gonna be our program, so we can,
Do what you want.
we can do what we want. Mike, I think, liked the first, you know, first apply, first approved type situation, as long as they meet the guidelines. And hopefully this will be a program that we'll be able to continue year after year, so, you know, they can, if the money runs out, we'll reapply.
And I will add that we allocated in our budget more than what those other municipalities have done. So I think Shoto was like 10 or 20,000 a year. We put in 50.
And that's because of our resort tax.
Yeah,
That-
because we have the resort tax, and that's one of those things that it's there to use. And then, as far as businesses applying to, if you think about like those first blocks off of Broadway and how the condition of some of those are, not city responsibility, it's their responsibility, but we'll go halvesies with you if you'll fix it up.
Yeah, but,
Sort of a thing, but like I said, that's councils to come up
Yeah,
with what that is. And then Lewistown didn't actually have the dollars, they just did the demolition for it. So there's, and if we hear about other communities that are doing it, we'll steal from anybody if they've got good ideas. We'll incorporate those into it.
It's kind of a nice feel-good thing to help people, improve their, property.
Well, and it also
Right.
improves our walkability.
Yeah,
You know, maybe
walkability,
if eventually we have nice sidewalks everywhere, people will quit walking in the street.
Yeah, but,
Yeah.
I think,
And I'd
I'm
like
excited
to,
about it.
I'd like to see some priorities for safe routes to school. We've been talking about safe routes to school forever. And there are crosswalks across Broadway at 14th and Broadway, and there are no sidewalks there, but we're expecting the kids to cross there. So I'd like to see that considered as well as a priority, as a safe route to school.
And that's council's purview. You guys are developing that package, so you can
I'll
develop it however
definitely
you'd
keep
like
that in
to.
mind.
Okay.
I will do my very best to administrate it however you guys set it up.
I think public health and safety would like to see that.
What's 15th Street like as far as sidewalks? I mean, is it just a matter of maybe changing the route for those kids, or?
15th, there's sidewalks on, not on the north.
It's just somebody's.
But on 14th Street, yeah, because the bunkhouse is there, and then there's no sidewalk
Okay.
after the bunkhouse.
I'm just trying to think
But
of
on
an easy remedy,
on the
but
south
there's
side
no
of
easy
that,
remedy.
there is. But on 14th Street, neither north or south
Got it.
going that way has sidewalks.
And actually, there is a sidewalk on 14th from Platt to the alley, but not from the alley to Broadway.
And it ends up with big snow drifts on it and stuff
It
piled up because it was a business and they plow all their stuff there and then the kids walk out in the
All
street.
right.
I think it's a valid point to go out and look and say, is there a place that if they went, there's better sidewalks
Better
there?
sidewalks,
And if you just post go this way, that way,
Yeah.
yeah.
so.
Yeah, I must say, as a parent, it's one of my favorite parts about this town is the walkability of the kids on their path to school. And I can also say, as a parent, I've been guilty of, like, kids bolting out where I didn't see them because of somebody's fence or whatever. I don't know if this would remedy it, but,
It
it
wouldn't
would
hurt.
be nice to have designated sidewalks so we know where to expect the kids coming around the corner to cross the street quickly to school.
Okay. And then, the other things that we are going to be talking about, working on, an ordinance governing, or I guess, on residential trash cans. We have a lot of things that we don't have written down and we're not being consistent about. Right now, if you have, a fourplex, you can opt to have a dumpster instead of 4 trash cans. But that's not written down anywhere, you know, there is nothing, you know, written this way. We have some where they have one, since we switched over to the utility bills, being where the trash is coming out, if you have one sewer line and one water hookup, you're gonna have one charge for your garbage can. But what if you have 2 houses hooked on that one sewer line? Should you be being charged for 2 cans? And then we also have other places where they have 2 hookups, one for a main house and one for a garage with an office that happens to have a bathroom in it, and they're getting charged for 2 cans. So we're going to try to work on this, work out some of the details, try to make it consistent and fair, I guess, amongst all entities, however you'd
Good
like to
luck.
say that.
Without being a administrative burden on staff,
Yes,
that's my entry into the conversation.
yes,
Yeah,
So-
I agree.
yes. So, any other comments on that part? Or-
Jody, we didn't get to noxious weeds, but
We
in the
did not.
next 3 weeks, if you could just text me the gist of what you were gonna say, so
Okay,
I can sort of formulate this before the next meeting. And also, the guy that's, the weed manager for the district weed manager was in the hospital, and so I have not contacted him about, knapweed, et cetera. So if you could just give me an idea what you were thinking, so I can think about it for the
I
next
think-
3 weeks.
we have an ordinance now for tall grass, and I think it was, do we want to take that ordinance and also include, you know, we have a lot of noxious weeds within the city limits. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, please, are we basically leaving that up to the county to administer, or, because we don't
No.
really have anybody in the city that
So
takes
I
care
don't
of
think
it.
we add noxious weeds to tall grass, but that doesn't mean we don't copy what's in place for tall grass.
Yeah,
Search and replace tall grass with noxious weeds, and that's the starting point, and say, how do we do it? So one of the things in that tall grass ordinance is, here's what the levels of controls are, and that would be set by the county. And then, here's the dates that if you haven't done something by that, the city will cause it to be done, and you'll get the bill on your taxes. So do we duplicate that same thing for noxious weeds? We'll notify you that you've got noxious weeds. If you don't take care of it within 2 weeks, it'll get taken care of and the bill will show up on your taxes. And again, it wouldn't be part of the same ordinance because
They are two different things.
Yeah, tall grass and noxious weeds are entirely different categories, but I think it could follow very similarly. So it's basically what is the mechanism to make sure it happens? And so tall grass addresses two things. One, it's an identification program, so people can report it anonymously. And two, you'll get notified. If you don't do something about it, we'll take care of it and give you the bill. And I think that model works.
And what about, and I think that at one point we had something going in the city about overhanging trees over the sidewalk, that they had to be trimmed back.
Mhm.
Is that just something that we did, or is there actually an ordinance?
I think that's something else, so you can make a note of that to look into it.
I think it is in an ordinance
Somewhere?
somewhere. I don't know.
It seemed that
It-
there
it
was
is.
something going with that.
Councilmember Davis, thank you for your patience. You were trying to get in there, got
I'm
stepped
always
on.
talking. No, I was thinking, do we have the same thing in place for plowing the sidewalks? And,
No,
like, if it's not done, you get the bill?
That's just on the commercial district.
Yeah,
But
okay.
not on
yeah,
residential.
Okay.
so in the commercial district, but to your point, is that someplace, and again, is it someplace we wanna go? Do you wanna tell somebody, get your snow plowed, or we'll come do it for you and give you the bill?
Oh, yeah, don't
It
mind
would,
me.
I can tell you from a staffing position, those would all be outsourced decisions. So noxious weeds, we don't have the staff to go out and do that, so we would contract with one of the different agencies, just like we don't go mow tall grasses, we have a list of contractors we delegate that to, and they bill us and we put it on their taxes. But to your point, it could work for noxious weeds, it could work for snow on sidewalks, it could work for your trees overhanging, you know.
Mhm.
How far do we want to go, right? What fits the, now, I will tell you, going into next year from a tall grasses standpoint, I would like us to do there's a couple things that I would like to see better enforcement of what we have the books on. Tall grasses and stuff is one of them. Not so many years ago, we had the weed lady who went around, and actually, I know we have council members that would be very happy to take a clipboard and go down and write down all the tall grasses and noxious weeds and turn that in. And there's nothing that precludes anybody
Right.
from doing that. And then we go ahead and do that. So I would like to do a better job of that next year than what we did this year.
I think
So,
somewhere.
I will say, I mean, I think you have to be careful, you know, as a city. There's definitely things, tall grass can be a definite fire hazard, wildfire hazard, if we have a lot of vacant lots with a lot of tall grass in it. You know, it's not not that it just doesn't look nice, it's like, it's a safety hazard.
Well, there's also allergies and stuff
Yes.
that are impacted by that, so.
Red Lodge is full of allergies, I'm like, what?
Oh, I know, I hear about them.
But noxious weeds is, I mean, they are, it's, you know, I mean, there's rules about not having noxious weeds and because they spread and then they, you know, knapweed especially, where if you see it, you're supposed to pull it and and there's different ways you handle it. But, I think we just have to be careful, like how far down some of these roads we want to go before we're acting like a homeowners association. So, you know, I think if it's a public health and safety issue, or, you know, it's already against a state ordinance or a county ordinance, and we're just trying to enforce it, I'm 100% all for it. I would not be opposed to asking people to shovel their brand-new sidewalks that the city pays for, but,
We'll pay for half if you promise to shovel it.
Yes, so, but I guess I just want to put a word of caution out there, because I have seen city council in the past kind of try to take on that homeowners association role. And, I mean, I live in Red Lodge in downtown, I don't live up at the golf course. I would appreciate not having the city regulate every part of my house and my lot. It's just my
Yeah,
opinion.
where do you balance that? We all want to live in a nice place we don't want to be
Burden.
But I'm trying to think of a word, dictator or something
Burden.
that doesn't get us in trouble. And if anybody thinks of that, feel free to throw it out there. But I think everybody gets the idea. There is a line that we want to balance and we want to cross. We could hire 50 enforcement officers and police officers. We could have, what Singapore, they say it's a fine city. You get fined for chewing gum, you get fined for, yeah.
You might get killed too for something.
So, me?
Not you.
When they have
Somebody in Singapore.
Only the mayor.
You get beat to death or something, I don't know.
So anyway,
I
that's
chewed gum,
it
the
for
only
Public
place
Works.
in the
We'll be, got some big projects
It is
coming
to
up.
do.
So.
Any other questions for, Public Works? All right, thank you, for that. Like I said, so some exciting things to come. Some of it's in the early development stages, maybe a month or two out before we see it on the action agenda. Correspondence, anybody have any correspondence they would like to share with council or
Boy, did we.
things to introduce?
It's already all in there.
I mean,
Well, we've got the stuff that was included then, but what about since Friday? Anything new that comes up that we need to
We had,
include in future packets?
we had a 2-page, airport asks from, Kristen Cogswell.
Okay,
That should be included.
okay?
You have a copy of
you
that?
got a couple, okay, good.
And like I said, the purpose of that meeting this morning and kind of asked was after last council meeting, was to get a sense of what is it that council would like to see. And I've gotten feedback from several council members independently. Some of it is kind of like, what is the history of the airport? What are the statistics and data around airports and aviation? What is the FAA responsible? What is the city responsible? So, and continue to input those things and I'll figure out how we get those addressed. I do have a meeting with the county, on the airport agreement to get that back up and going. So it was already scheduled prior to that, but,
When is it?
pardon?
When is that meeting?
It is.
When?
Uh-huh.
Oh, we can't go.
Would you ask him? I don't think I get anywhere.
It is not a public meeting.
Okay. But is it soon?
It's Thursday.
Thank you.
She's gonna walk underneath the window.
I'm good. Put my face up against the window.
It's not a secretive meeting and it'll all be there, but
I
we're
was
not
just-
gonna design a horse by committee.
I don't wanna go.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get an idea of when this
Is
meeting
this meeting happening in the next 2 weeks? Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, but I do have something about that.
Okay.
In reading all these letters Sunday, I am, it struck me that no one knows anything about the airport. I asked, a flight, they said, well, they're not staying on the flight path. Well, no normal person in Red Lodge knows what the flight path is, and there is no regular flight path. There's no designated flight path. But they keep mentioning things that, we need to be educated about this thing. And they're asking questions that are kind of taking me down a rabbit hole sometimes when I'm sitting there and I'm trying to answer their questions and I go down rabbit holes and I'm just sort of sick of that. So I would like you at your secret meeting, I'm kidding. I would like to get this thing going. I know we got this annexation thing. I mean, there's so many things
Yeah.
before us in the next year. But I would really like to get this airport thing settled.
Agreed.
And just too much disinformation, and everyone's tense, and I'm tense because of all the stuff I'm getting, and I would really appreciate it at your meeting Thursday that you can get this ball rolling or
Well,
whatever.
and that won't be in here, but I take the input and I appreciate that. One of the challenges, and I'm open to ideas and suggestions, is we got a couple of letters, one that's in the packet, one that was separate. We have folks in town that are professional airline pilots who have aviation degrees.
Yeah, I've read that one too.
And then there was one from,
Well, Chad Hansen was the
Chad
pilot.
Hansen's one in the packet, and then Tanner had said he had one that he had
I
sent out to.
didn't see Tanner's. I know he's a pilot, but I
Yeah.
did not see him.
And he had, and my question is, my thought was great, I could have him come in and just field open questions, but my question on how to do that is I know there are people that will say, your opinion doesn't count. Yes, that's your
Because you're a
degree, and yes, your
pilot.
specialty, but you're a pilot, so
Well-
your opinion doesn't count. And I'm open ideas on how to make that balance work, because that's the struggle that I have right now.
Because I don't want to push this down the road for another council because it's been pushed down and it's just, it's aggravating.
Yeah, we're gonna get it done this year.
Okay, good. And then,
Jody's already threatened to beat me up if, and I say Jody because it was outside the council meeting, so.
okay, I just want one more thing, and this has absolutely nothing to do with the rec. But I was wondering about, this, back in the day when I was on council, we got these in our packet. And
What
the,
are these? I
this
can't
is
read it
the,
from here.
Oh, this is the land use.
use of city-owned land permit, and
It's
the
the
person,
event permit.
and the person that was applying for it would have to come to council, and we could ask, because there's all these questions, and, you know, what are you planning to do? Will there be security? Will there be dumpsters? Will there be this, that? And I for one would like these added to our packet again, and I don't know how y'all feel about having the person, oh, and the last page is, of course, insurance, $1 million insurance. But we
So-
don't get these anymore, and I
So the
think
last,
it's
the
important.
last council changed that process to put it into the office, and so now staff does it, which is why Brian had all
Right,
the folders.
Right,
And so there's an ordinance specifically done to do that. So what you're asking in essence is, can we revisit that ordinance and change it back to a different way?
And I think
And that's council's discussion.
and there was a thing at the airport, I mean, it was all very nice, but we didn't see it, and I didn't know this thing was even was happening. So, but I also think that
Good.
whoever is in charge of this thing, why not come to council and
Well, you saw
so
how
we
thick
can
that
ask,
folder was.
well, I know.
So,
Maybe starting in
Farmers
January.
market, that would be farmers market, that would be
Wait,
everything.
Hold on, Councilmember
No,
Ronnie, I'll let you
I
They don't
respond,
have
because
to,
you were
they
part of
don't have
that.
to come every time. I'm just saying this one day thing is $1 million insurance. They had to get security and dumpsters. Why not be more knowledgeable about this
can I
stuff?
answer that?
You
too?
can.
Okay, because, I was on the event committee. It was like another PTSD thing right next to the airport, as far as the meetings we had and how we rewrote that. It had a lot to do with handling, we broke our events up into the large events versus the small events. And, we decided as a committee and as a council that we didn't really feel that that was council's lane at that point, because we wanted to create the ordinance that gave the staff enough guidelines to be able to approve or not approve different events. If they met those guidelines, then it was supposed to be an automatic approval. If they couldn't meet those guidelines, then they don't get approved. Because it was becoming too much, how do I say this nicely? Personal opinions going into council's decisions on events that were getting approved and not approved. Or that certain events would come in and they were just like,
I don't like
yes,
it.
well, no, or they would be just like, yeah, yay, we love this event, we're gonna approve it, and they wouldn't even really look at the application. Or they'd get another event that would come in and like, oh, we don't like what you bring to this town, we don't want you. And they would totally grill the people that were applying to the point like, one council person said, oh, you're so crowded around those fire circles, if somebody decided to, how did they put it?
I wasn't there.
Oh, they said if someone decided to clip their toenails, the toenail would land in somebody else's soup. I mean, they actually said that to somebody that was applying for an event permit.
Okay,
So-
Let me ask a question. Is there another, if we just made that folder available for the general public at all? I mean, it is, but do we need to make it more publicly available?
I'd like to have a
when it's out
copy
there?
in my packet, and we don't have to invite the event coordinator here, I guess, but I'd like to know what happens if something happens and we didn't know about it.
But the thing is that we have given the city staff the guidelines in the ordinance, and if all of those guidelines are met, they filled out a complete application, all the department heads have signed off, they're doing the public safety, they're doing the cleanup, they're doing the garbage, they're doing everything they need to do to host a successful event or a safe event. It's not council's role to decide that.
And in
Our role was
fairness,
to put together the guidelines. We can change the guidelines, but it's not us that actually approve the event.
In fairness, I believe that ordinance says that it's on the mayor to share what large events have been approved. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's doing that, but, and I have failed to do that a couple times because I didn't realize it was part of my responsibility. But I could say, Ann, hear me out for a minute. So if in mayor's comments, I said, this week, we approved a copy of Wings and Things. I'm gonna use your title, I like it.
Sorry.
The application's available in the office for anyone who's interested to look at it.
I would
that
like
address
that,
concern?
because if something did something did happen here, and I didn't even know about it.
Okay.
Something happened.
I know about
And
it.
things will happen at another one.
I knew about it.
I think so.
Good for you, I'm glad you knew it, but I didn't know
was
it.
So for large
advertised.
events, and like I said, I'll take that because I think that's in there. And what I can do is say, this week, this event was approved, and it's in the packet. Now, sometimes that's gonna happen 6 months in advance, and you're not gonna remember it at the
Well,
time,
this
and that's the
is
nature of it.
applied for in June, and that's fine, but,
Yeah,
so, I'm
okay taking that as an
Don't you
action
think
item
we should
going
know
forward.
these things? That the big event, it just seems like common sense to me that we should be knowledgeable about these kind of things.
But isn't it our due diligence to also be aware of what's going on in our town without having it to be presented to us on a platter?
No. I don't get on Facebook.
I
How will
think,
you,
I think what I'd like to say is that the ordinance for large events and small events eliminated personal opinion, and it was fair to everybody. And I'll remind you that we had the discussion when the carnival wanted to go up on city-owned property, is it, yeah, I think it is, next to the rodeo. And they followed every guideline, they qualified, and some people didn't like it, but they qualified. So all the personal opinion, like, oh, they're gonna ruin the rodeo, and that's gonna, hurt the rodeo. And that's the same thing,
I
that's a
don't ever
personal
remember us
opinion.
in 6 years denying anything. All we wanted to know is they had insurance. We wanted to know what they were doing and proof of insurance. I don't remember anyone ever saying, nope, because it was already a done deal. They had paid the
But at
insurance.
You're
this
never
point,
gonna
what
hear
they
that.
have said is, Mayor, it's your job to make sure that they have proof of insurance, and that's part of your job to do that. So there's a lot of administrative things, crash, all of these things, there's a lot of administrative things that you guys, that council has said, Mayor, this is how we want you to do it,
Right.
make sure it's done. And there's an ordinance that says, you need to, through you or your staff, make sure that all those insurances and everything in place. But there's all sorts of things that happen on a day-to-day basis that I don't necessarily come back and report to council. I try to over-communicate, but there's also gotta be an edge to that
What,
somewhere.
if they meet all of the guidelines to the application, what would council's role be?
She's not saying she wants a role, she just wants an awareness. And that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
If I add to what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add to my mayor discussions, I'm gonna limit it to large events, because if it's small events,
I
there's
know.
a ton of them. That says, these are the events permits, I'll just add that as a regular section of mayor's comments. The following events were approved, the paperwork's in the back for anybody who wants to go look at it.
Is it on like a calendar?
It's on
Anytime
a
they apply,
calendar, but
it's
not
on-
everybody necessarily has
Public,
access to that
okay.
calendar.
Yeah, it's a parks yeah, it's the event in parks so, because you can go and, rent the gazebo for a half a day now. That's, you fill out an event app for that, but it's small events usually.
And it's staff's job to make sure that they have insurance.
And to make sure they
and
have garbage and to
dumpsters
make
and-
sure they have, and for example, we're busy planning, Christmas stroll right now. And, one of our big concerns is the fact that the stroll has grown so much that the amount of people on the street is making it unsafe for the wagon, to go up and down Broadway. And so we, are trying to come up with solutions to keep the wagon ride and keep it safe for the pedestrians, because people are not getting out of the way of, this
Sure.
big wagon. And we don't want to have, a horrible tragedy to happen, because if something like that happened, we probably would never have Christmas stroll again.
Right.
So the wagon needs a horn.
Yeah, well, what we're looking for, but what we're looking for is, we're looking for someone to actually, go in front of the wagon on like an ATV or, something and clear the path. And someone to ride on the back of the wagon to stop the kids from grabbing on
Jumping
and,
on.
yeah,
Mhm.
and,
Well, you're not supposed to do
no, I know. So, but I mean, it's up to the event the event organizer.
Can't be a person holding flags,
to
because an
have-
ATV is another problem.
I get, what I'm trying to say is up to the event
Sure, it's
organizer
back to the
to
horn.
plan their event safely when these type of issues come up. And it's up to city staff to be looking at these applications. They're supposed to be going to all the department heads, the public, the police department, the public works, everyone has a role in reviewing those applications to make sure that it's going to be as safe of an event as we possibly can have.
And as the conversation goes on, I'm not hearing Councilmember Root say, we need to change that policy, just says, make it less burdensome on me to have an awareness
That's
that
happening.
something's coming, so that when somebody says something, I can at least say,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I remember hearing
That's all
about
I'm
that.
saying.
But I think part of the takeaway is also, even if you haven't heard of it, what you can say is, I know we have a process that's there. You can probably go down to City Hall and find the paperwork or, but I can, like I said, I will certainly try to make sure that I include those large events
I would appreciate
on,
that.
on
Thank
the
you.
minutes. I think I can do
Yeah.
that.
It's a great success.
And I'm sorry if I came across hard.
No,
It's just,
no.
I spent like
We're
a
all
whole
friends.
year on that, and
I
it
was
was
there.
not a
But you got a lot of
friendly.
PTSD, Jody. You
Oh,
gotta get
that
rid
was
of that.
like, those
That was,
first
yeah.
2 years of city council were brutal.
Well, I just,
All right.
Number.
I just like
Okay.
to know what's going on.
Any other conversations sparked by that's what I love about correspondence section, because it can spark all sorts of
Every
conversations.
time I hear airport or large event, I just go, no.
Okay. Hearing no correspondence,
No.
what we will do is we will go to public comment. This is the last item on our agenda and the final opportunity for the public to be heard by council on anything within the city's purview. Again, 3 minutes, and if you address your comments to the chair, and again, it's not open discussion, it's a chance for your comments to be heard. Sometimes I'll close comments and then allow council to respond after that, but it won't happen during the public comment period. But with that, we'll open public comments.
No, you got nothing?
Looking through the room, I see nothing. Online, well, let me rephrase that. I see nobody leaping to the podium. I very definitely see very key and valuable, important members of our committee, of our community. Looking online for cameras
See what
or
happens when it
mics
works
or
12
raised
hours?
hands.
Only 2 people are left.
Going once, twice, I see 3. Are you counting? 3 times, we'll go ahead and close public comment.
Yay.
I will entertain a motion for item number 12.
I moved to adjourn.
Thank you all.
Meeting is adjourned.
See you in
Thank
3
you all.
weeks.